There are lives that unfold in silence. Lives that drift on the outer edges of companionship. Not because they are unworthy of company, and not because the world has forgotten them, but because something inside them learned to walk alone long before anyone noticed. This is the story of those who live friendless. Not as a flaw, not as a failure, but as a quiet psychological landscape shaped by memory, fear, longing, and an almost sacred kind of resilience. A world where solitude becomes both shelter and weight. Many begin their lives surrounded by voices, classrooms filled with laughter, childhood neighborhoods buzzing with noise, familiar faces moving in predictable circles. Yet even within these early crowds, some children feel like silent satellites orbiting a world that never quite makes room for them. They are present but unnoticed, included but not felt, seen but rarely known. It begins subtly. The quiet child who stands at the edge of the playground, the teenager who blends into hallways like part of the wallpaper, the adult who slips through gatherings without leaving a trace. Not by choice, but by habit, a survival instinct born from 1,000 small moments where connection failed to land. They notice how friendships seem effortless for others, how people move toward each other with an ease that feels foreign. They watch as companions form bonds through shared jokes, shared secrets, shared spaces, and wonder why their presence doesn't spark the same warmth. Living friendless is rarely a sudden drop. It is a slow drift, a gentle distancing that begins long before the world names it loneliness. For some, the silence becomes familiar. For others, it becomes a quiet ache they carry through each day. Friendlessness does not always scream. Sometimes it hums. A low frequency in the background of a life that appears functional, stable, even peaceful. Yet beneath the surface lies a soft, unspoken truth. Connection never felt safe enough, possible enough, or reachable enough. And over time they learned to make peace with the margins, believing the world simply had no space shaped like them. The origins of a friendless life are rarely dramatic. They are woven through childhood patterns, attachment wounds, social misalignments, and moments that seemed small at the time but grew into internal architecture. Some were raised in households where emotional presence was scarce. They learned early that expressing needs invited dismissal, irritation, or silence. So they stopped reaching out. They stopped expecting softness. They built a self that needed nothing from anyone. Others grew up too mature for their age, carrying responsibilities that made them old long before their peers. They couldn't relate to the carefree lightness of childhood friendships. While others played, they observed. While others bonded, they survived. Some faced rejection, the kind that dissolves a child's belief that belonging is possible. A friend turning away. A group excluding them. A moment of humiliation that carved a quiet warning into the mind. Don't try again. Don't risk that pain again. For a few, temperament became destiny. Highly introspective minds who felt more comfortable inside their thoughts than inside conversations. Sensitive souls who absorbed too much stimulus from social interactions. Deep thinkers who struggled with surface-level exchanges. These temperaments, beautiful but misunderstood, slowly nudged them towards solitude. Not for lack of trying, but because their emotional language, their interests, their pace, their depth did not align with the social circles available to them. Compatibility is rarely talked about in friendship, yet it shapes more lives than fate. Eventually, patterns become identities. What if I don't fit anywhere? What if I'm not meant to belong? And so, the root becomes a quiet belief. It is safer to live without friends, even if a part of me longs for them. Friendlessness grows from many seeds, none of which mean a person is broken. It is simply the direction their life bent under the weight of their earliest experiences. Psychologically, living friendless becomes more than a circumstance. It becomes a style of being. The mind adapts to solitude the way a plant bends toward available light. It constructs inner worlds, private routines, mental refuges that rely on no one. There is comfort in the predictability of aloneness. Nothing unexpected disrupts the emotional landscape. The friendless mind often shows patterns seen in avoidant or withdrawn behaviors, not out of coldness but out of learned protection. Emotional intimacy feels unfamiliar, almost intrusive. Conversations that require vulnerability feel like stepping onto thin ice. Their nervous system is tuned to anticipate disappointment, not belonging. They become excellent observers but limited participants. Skilled at noticing social cues but hesitant to enter the dance. Present but guarded, receptive but cautious. The psychology of friendlessness is also deeply tied to self-perception. Those who live without friends often carry complex internal narratives. I don't add value. I'm the odd one out. People don't stay. Maybe I'm better off alone. These beliefs, once formed, become self-fulfilling. They radiate through body language, tone, presence, subtly signaling to the world to keep its distance. Yet beneath this quiet detachment, there is a remarkable inner world. People who live friendless often possess intense emotional depth, creativity, introspection, and resilience. They know how to endure. They know how to think. They know how to sit with themselves, a skill many fear. Psychologically, they survive by withdrawing, but they also grow by observing. Living friendless shapes a mind that is hyper-aware, deeply reflective, and often wiser than it realizes. It is not a defective psychology, it is an adaptive one. A mind shaped by the absence of connection, yet capable of immense emotional intelligence, if ever allowed to unfold in the presence of another. Inside the friendless life exists a quiet contradiction, a longing for closeness, tied tightly to the fear of it, a desire to be understood, shadowed by the belief that no one truly will. They want connection, but connection requires being seen, and being seen feels risky. There is a vulnerability in letting someone witness the unpolished, unedited self. For those who grew up without emotional safety, this vulnerability feels unnatural, even threatening. So they remain hidden. They scroll through messages they never send. They rehearse conversations that never happen. They imagine companionship but retreat when it inches close. The loneliness is real, not loud but persistent. It shows up at night when silence deepens. It shows up during milestones where they must celebrate alone. It shows up in moments when something beautiful or painful happens, and there is no one to share the weight with. Yet there is resistance too. A protective voice whispering, "You're safer without people. Don't risk needing anyone. Don't create expectations." This resistance forms from past experiences, but it governs the present with surprising strength. There is also shame, subtle, quiet, heavy. In a world that glorifies social circles and companionship, a friendless life feels like a secret flaw, something to hide. They fear being pitted, misunderstood, or judged. So they present a self that looks independent, even content, while the truth breathes quietly beneath the surface. The inner battle is not just about wanting friends, it's about reconciling two truths. I have learned to survive alone. I am not sure I want to be alone forever. It is a conflict they rarely voice, a quiet storm carried with practiced calm. Eventually something shifts. Not dramatically, there is no sudden breakthrough, no cinematic moment of transformation. Instead, the realization arrives slowly, through small observations that accumulate over time. They begin to notice that the absence of friends does not define their worth. It reflects their history, not their value. They see others with rich social lives who still feel lonely, misunderstood, or emotionally hungry. They realize friendship is not guaranteed for anyone. It is a fragile, deliberate connection shaped by compatibility, timing, and mutual willingness, not by inherent deservingness. A quiet truth settles in. Their friendless life was not a failure. It was a response. A reflection of circumstances, personality, and emotional lessons learned early on. And with this understanding comes a subtle softening. For the first time, they allow themselves to imagine connection without fear, without shame, without the weight of old narratives. They begin to see that belonging is not owed, but neither is it out of reach. It is simply something they have not experienced yet in the form they needed. They don't rush toward people. Rushing was never their way. But they stop running from the possibility. The realization is gentle but profound. They do not have to choose between solitude and connection. They can honor their quiet nature while leaving a window open. Friendlessness begins to feel less like identity and more like a chapter. Meaningful, formative, but not final. This turning point does not come from the outside world. It comes from the moment they see themselves with tenderness, rather than judgment. Sometimes the greatest change begins not with a new friend, but with a new understanding of oneself. Healing for those who live friendless does not mean transforming into someone social, extroverted, or constantly surrounded by people. Integration is much quieter, much softer. It begins with accepting their natural rhythm, the slower pace, the introspection, the depth that has always defined them. They realize solitude is not the enemy, isolation is, and solitude, when chosen rather than inherited, becomes a source of strength. They learn to differentiate the wounds from the truths. Wound, people don't want me. Truth, I never learned what safe connection feels like. Wound, I'm meant to be alone. Truth, I adapted to being alone. Wound, I have nothing to offer. Truth, my presence simply hasn't met its match yet. Integration also comes from tiny moments of openness. Responding to a message instead of overthinking it. Accepting a small invitation. Allowing someone to sit a little closer to their inner world. They don't force themselves to be social. They simply stop forbidding the possibility of connection. Their emotional landscape shifts from survival to curiosity. They begin to recognize the friendships they can hold, slower, quieter, deeper forms of companionship. The kind that don't demand performance. The kind that honor silence. The kind that see their depth as a gift, not a barrier. And even if no friendships form immediately, they carry a newfound gentleness toward themselves. The shame lifts. The self-blame dissolves. The fear softens. Healing is not a social milestone. It is an internal realignment, an understanding that their story is not defined by absence, but by resilience, introspection, and the capacity to feel deeply. Living friendless becomes less of a confinement, and more of a peaceful inner home they can open or close at will. Some lives bloom quietly. Some hearts learn their shape in the absence of others. And some souls walk long stretches of their journey alone, not because they are unlovable, but because their path required solitude to reveal who they truly are. Living friendless is not a verdict. It is a landscape, a season, a psychological echo that can evolve whenever life is ready. For in every person who has lived without friends, there exists a depth carved by silence, a resilience shaped by endurance, and a quiet capacity for connection that has simply not yet been met. Their story is not about being alone. It is about learning themselves deeply enough to one day let someone in.